tree I'm going to use to make my pole. As you can see, it's not much of a tree. I'm talking about the little bitty one. Most people would look at this and say, yeah, chop it off, chop it up, use it for firewood, or put it in the burn pile. But I see more value in it. It's going to be a part of an H brace, or at least the line pole. I usually like to get them about 5-6 inches in diameter. That makes a good pole. But remember, the smaller section up at the top, you still need a cross pole, a cross brace on your H brace. So that works good for that. I like to use this little pole saw for little bitty trees. First of all, to get you away from the tree, so you don't have to worry. And secondly, I think this is a 14-inch blade, so it's plenty for a little guy like this. Now we're gonna measure out 8 feet and get us our pole. Like with any project, you want to make sure your tools are sharp and your equipment's in good working order. So before you start skinning, take a little file and just kind of brush up your draw knife. It doesn't take much, but the last time I used it, it was on some wetter pine, so there's probably a lot of sap on the blade. Just knock that out a little bit. And it's not a very rough file. Coarse file, kind of fine, but it works good for this. Just hit that real quick on both sides. I could feel it on this side. I could feel that sap coming off. That ought to do it. Well, we got our draw knife sharp, got our pole ready to skin. We're going to use this grapple to put our pole up, so we're not skinning on the ground. You want to be comfortable because it's going to take you a good 10-15 minutes to skin this baby. So I just like to grab it, shove it in there, and look at that. What we're going to do, I'm going to start up this tractor. We're going to raise it up, see if we can't get this thing at hip level. going to do it. So now, when you pull in your draw knife, you're going to pull bevel down. If you do it bevel up, you dig too deep into this wood. Okay? If you get it bevel down, you just kind of slide that son of a gun along the top. Now that comes off of there. So you're going to come across some knots on here. You just kind of have to pull through them. As you get better with your draw knife, you're going to just do it by feel. You know, just take your time. Doesn't take a lot of muscle, but you are going to work at it. This part's not free. See how that knot just popped off there? Just got to take your time. Some of it, I don't know if you could see, but a lot of it, I'm using this cutting action where as I pull, I kind of slice at the same time. Works best for me. See that? I'm barely putting any pressure on it. Except for that knot. Just cut away from that joker. A lot of times I dig in and I give it a little pop. Seems to get it off there. And just keep spinning your log. Now there's some logs, they're a little wetter. So, you know, I didn't notice if I was bevel down and bevel up, and it actually did make a difference. So I think a lot of it just has to do with how wet your log is. This is bevel up. See? I can feel it digging a little deeper. Ooh, especially right there. So, like I said, you're the craftsman. You get to choose how you craft. Here's some poles that we've already skinned and they've been out here drying for about a month or so. The drier they are, the better they're going to burn. And you know, you keep it like an assembly line. These poles over here, these are all ready to go. They've already been charred. If you can see the contrast on the bottom, I've already oiled up the bottom about 4 feet. And that way it's an additional preservative. And you can oil the whole thing if you'd like, but what happens is if you oil the whole pole, you got to make sure you give it plenty of time to soak in, a couple of weeks or so. Otherwise, as you're building your fence, you'll get that oil on your hand. So we got our propane bottle over here and our little torch, and we're going to char this pole right here that I've got separated, and we'll see how that turns out. Now, what you need to do is you need to decide which is the bottom of the pole and which is the top. Because you don't have to char the whole thing completely black. You can, and it's probably better for the pole, But you know, I like a little color on it. I'll show you later some fence posts that I put in and added the fencing to it, and it's kind of decorative. It's kind of fancy, or you can just, you know, it doesn't matter. For out here, mostly it's for the cows and the horses. I really don't think they care how pretty it is. Okay, you're gonna want to wear some gloves doing this little project because you are working with fire. Now, some safety concerns. This is the middle of summer and we don't want to start any fires. So we're going to have a water source handy and we're going to just wet this ground a little bit. Not that I think this will start a fire, but it's peace of mind. And you can see I got these poles elevated on some little cross poles, and they're well burned. So been many a pole burned on here. And I just use this like my assembly line. As I use the poles, I create more. That's pretty good. Let's get this fired up. Always be aware where your hose is, and that way you don't burn a hole through it. Now this is going to be the bottom of the pole, so this is going to get a better burn than the top. And don't forget to do the bottom of the pole. Can's low on propane, so not a whole lot of pressure coming out. We'll see what we can get done. Sometimes this little torch gets a little airlock in it. We're cooking now. Let's get this in. Now on this bottom, char it up good. At least the bottom 3 feet, because you know you're going to be at least 3 feet into the ground. So it'll give it a good layer of protection. Now there's, I replaced most of the fencing out here. The bottom half of the property had some of these charred poles, and I know they've been in there. They've probably been in there for a good 20 years. And they're still hard and solid as can be. You got to pull them out with a tractor. You know, there's no rotting on the bottom. we got our pole nice and charred. Next step, we're gonna wet this. We're gonna wet this down. Make sure we don't start any fires where we don't want them. And there is our charred pole. Now we'll let that cool, and we'll come back and we'll add some preservative to this bottom half. So, you know, like I said, always be safe about this stuff. You're working with fire. You don't want to get burned. You don't want to start a fire on your property. So make sure you got a nice space with where you have access to water so you can spray it down. And take your time, and you'll have a nice collection of fence posts. All right, your last step. This is a mixture of, it's about 50-50, of motor oil. It's used, of course. You wouldn't want to buy new motor oil just to slap it on your pole. Motor oil and diesel fuel. And this will soak in and help preserve your pole even more. So you're just going to slop this on there. Don't forget to get the ends. Just tap it on there. And on most of these poles, you know, I only do about the bottom 4 feet. You can do the whole pole. I know I said that earlier. But these are going to be for out here in the pasture, so they're going to be fine. And it's not like we get a lot of rain here in East Texas. None lately, as a matter of fact. On these pole behind me, you can see the bottom half. These have all been done. And then on some of the poles that I do, that people drive in, I do the whole pole. It gives them a nice look. Make sure you fill these cracks. And if you're going to preserve something, give it a good preserving. And there you go. Let that sit. And that pole's going to roll over here in our stack of poles ready to plant. So we got our posts done. This is what they turn out to look like. Now these have been oiled from top to bottom. That's why they got that nice, I don't know, nice antique look. And but they're completely charred from the dirt down. And we use these because our driveway's, of course, behind you. And you know, when people come in, you want to see pretty posts. The other posts I use for the rest of the fencing were just the store-bought posts. And they work, and nobody really cares. I care, but they're kind of ugly. And you know, when you're spending $25 a post and you're getting these for free, it makes more sense to have a better looking post and a post that'll probably last a lot longer than what they put out now. Because in the old days, you know, they used some probably a lot harsher chemicals to pressure treat these posts. And nowadays, with all the restrictions, I don't know, those posts won't last 10 years. These, I'm guessing I'm going to get more than 10 years. So if you want to look down this line right here, you'll see all the posts I put in, and how nice that looks. So, like I said in the beginning, make your own post. If you got trees and you got a chainsaw and a little bit of elbow grease, do it yourself. Every fourth post, I'm saving $100. And you know what? I actually have a good time doing it. But now, here's the disclaimer. Don't build your fence in the middle of summer. You'll be out here dying. This I built in the spring, and in the wintertime, I get a lot of fencing done. So that's just my advice to you. The last thing I want to say is don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.